What's going on, guys? Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm going to be going over a couple things really fast, couple things I am looking at myself today in terms of what I plan on doing trades wise. Uh, so first things first, I just want to cover a couple things across the board. Generally, when there's a big move that already happened, I don't tend to be too risk on. I try to wait for another better setup. So first things first, these are the 6 pairs I usually focus on. I'll cover SPX real quick. Essentially, we mentioned the sells from up here. This was our south side liquidity. We got that and some. So pretty nice sell yesterday. What I want to point out right here is we have a pretty big range in terms of this price action we had here. So this price action we had here is essentially the zone we are coming back into on this side. So within the zone, you want to be careful with how you trade it, because of the simple fact that if we do not reach these lows here, that's where we currently are, we can have a bounce back towards the uppermost range before the next move lower. So that's one thing you want to be careful with. Definitely don't want to be shorting at the lows here. If you get a breach of this level, you want to take continuation lower. That's a different story. But as long as we're above this level with no confirmations below, you do want to be careful shorting SPX, SPY, whatever you take. But again, watch this left side, see if they can replicate some of the move to the upside before the next leg lower, or we do get the breakdowns, confirmations, and triggers below 59.85, let's say. So that's the dilemma and the context we have going on here on SPX. We also left this wick up here, which I'm not saying they're going to go for it, but anytime they leave wicks like that, I want to be careful in case they try to go sweep that. So that's where we are on SPY. As for the rest of the market, we have Bitcoin still coming down overnight. This is going to be an important level, the GP. You also have an EMA here aligning. Is that no, not EMA, SMA, simple moving average. Long story short, into 106.5k, 107k here. It's going to be a critical area. Want to see if Bitcoin bounces off this level, or we're going to get a breakdown to our lower targets from here. Bitcoin does not have as much of a chop. It has a clear level right here, right? So if we do trigger below the level, same comment to SPY, you have a clean drive lower. But this zone we are coming into is the area you want to be careful for a potential bounce like this. So again, 107 to 106.5k is going to be an interesting test on Bitcoin today. We're going to go ahead and have USD CAD putting in new lows today, which is not good. Generally, you would want to see UCAD coming up if to coincide with the market coming down. UCAD is not one of my favorite pairs. That's why I stopped trading it. I focus on GBP JPY now. But ideally, we do want to see what is going on. Generally, you do want to see the dollar come up, GJ down, and essentially you don't want any divergences in the pairs. When there are divergences, that's something I try to refrain from throwing big size when there's divergences. When the divergences take care of themselves, then that's your confirmation. But if there's a divergence ongoing, then something is not right. But as for UCAD, I want to see if we can reclaim this south side liquidity and make a push back above this buys above level, which I'll discuss in 1 second. So again, came down, swept that liquidity, which is one good thing. We have liquidity to the upside in case they do push higher, but we do want to see USD CAD flip to the buy side. So yesterday we drew this line, the buys above, and we mentioned a divergence with GJ here. The divergence yesterday, we needed GJ to remain below the sells below level, and UCAD above the buys above. So the divergence remains in the sense that these should not be moving in sync, since yesterday they both dropped, they both rallied, they were moving together. I mentioned it in the room. But here, so again, we have GJ lower and USD CAD lower. This needs to resolve. Sure, the past couple 3-hour candles have been to the upside while USD CAD has been down, but we were still below the levels we broke down from on both. So you see we broke down from here, moved lower. If you look at the chart here on the bottom, we've been moving lower as well. So ideally what I want to see today on GJ is a actual breakdown. So maybe lose these levels and break towards the lows. And at that same time that we're getting the breakdown here, you would want to see USD CAD breaking out to the upside. So this is going to be a very important tell here today. When you come down to the lower time frames, you can see the intraday action a little better. But like here, for example, they are both having down ticks. That is not normal price action. And like I said, I expect GJ, assuming we're going to continue the sells, I expect GJ to come down while we get the bounce and roll breakout on USD CAD. As for US oil, I haven't been trading it myself at all, if I'm being honest with you guys. But if I get the chart to load, I will show you guys what I want to see happen on it. Okay, let's see. I'll pass you for now. Let's go to gold. Gold I haven't been looking at too much either. Have a lot of drawings and a lot of mess on here. These are the OG levels from when we took the sales back here. They paid pretty well. I really got to clean this chart up, but I'll do it some other time. Long story short, the levels from, when I sent this write up out, it's been the same exact levels. The levels have been holding and respecting. Switch this to white. Levels have been holding. So long story short, we are here at the uppermost range. We've had a few tests up here. Do they sweep the highs before the breakdown? Possibly. But if they fail to break out here, this is regardless a good level to come down and retest these levels we've been testing to the downside. So eventually, long term, I do want to see gold come down with the rest of the markets. Bitcoin, SPY, they should all be moving in sync. So at some point, I do want to see a pullback on gold. That might be a decent trade opportunity today. If we get breakdowns across the board and gold also happens to break out, maybe those sells can pay. So I'll take a look at them, but I'm not going to be focusing that trade if I'm being honest. US oil is not trying to load right now. That's fine. Long story short, US oil should also come down for all these pairs to be moving in sync. But I'm not going to go ahead and cover the chart. I'll focus on other things for now. So here we have Apple, Microsoft. Well, you see the names. Not going to, you see the names. Let's go to the higher time frame. As you can tell, Apple's sitting at the lows. Why do all these have compare values? What's up with my values? Well, I'll figure it out later. Something's up with my values. But long story short, we have Apple at the lows. SPY at the lows. Where's SPY over here? SPY delivered the south side as mentioned. Be careful being short here. Maybe a small pullback, close. What is going on? Small pullback, close gaps, or even higher before next leg lower. So be careful if you're trying to short. But one thing I want to point out is Apple's at the lows under 200, by the way. So that's going to be an important tell today. Do we remain under 200 in Apple, or are they able to go ahead and reclaim it? NVIDIA. New lows? No, not yet. Yeah, actually, yes. We put in new lows overnight here. So new lows, if anyone who is in those puts are going to be paid on that pretty well. But again, I want to be careful here if the market does bounce before new lows. So if you're on any of these trades, you should be, pretty profitable, whether it's SPY, NVIDIA. The only one that is not green, and I'm going to be focusing, or not that it's not green, but it's at the highs. So this is an interesting setup. Same comments as on everything else across the board. We do want to eventually see new lows, but you got to be careful in case we get that bounce discussed on SPY, right? If the market does not roll over from here. So if the market bounces, you'll get that breakout. But if the market is going to roll over, this is actually a really good potential opportunity to take the sells on Microsoft. Simple fact that it has not fallen. Like I mentioned, there's a divergence ongoing between Apple and Microsoft and the rest of Mag 7. So if I can take sells up here on Microsoft when Apple is down here, it means essentially I can capture this entire range to the downside, which is a pretty nice move. And it should pay pretty well. It's about a $10 move on Microsoft. But again, that is assuming Apple, SPY, and the rest of the market will roll over. then I like the sells on Microsoft. If the market, Apple, SPY does start bouncing, do not try to short Microsoft here at the highs. So if we do get the rollover, as discussed, Microsoft is definitely an interesting opportunity here into the open. CoreWeave, I'll go over just because of this massive wick we left. So we broke down from this flag, tried to break down back at this point. So if they stay above 153, they're going to try to push for this wick fill. If they remain below 153, I like the sells, but it's back again at around the midpoint. I probably wouldn't touch it again. I got to check the data, see if it still makes sense, but that trade did pay. Just be careful with whatever you do take. Make sure you're not chasing. What do I mean by not chasing? You're not buying calls at the highs into resistance, and you're not buying puts at the lows into support. It's basically, I can tell you guys, I try to give you examples across the board on multiple different pairs and how you can use each pair to confirm, your bias on the other trades and how I go about it. So that's essentially what I'm looking for today. I'll be here throughout the day. Good luck today. Just take it slow. After a massive move like the one yesterday, you don't want to, give back profits. But good luck, everyone.